So we're going to create a coil project. You need to start with clay that is wedged. Pretty decent, okay. And then you're going to flatten it using the same technique. You're going to create a slab base. So when your clay is really soft and sticky, sometimes it curls around the rolling pin. But it's helpful if you turn it in different directions or just work on a drier surface. Okay. And once you have that, we do have some cookie cutter circles available in one of the drawers. I spotted them earlier, but you can just freehand this. This doesn't have to be perfect. This is more of an exercise for the next major project. So we're going to recreate a large hand-built vessel, a prehistoric vessel, so that means before written language. There was recorded language, but it was usually in the form of a pictograph. So I'll give you all of the assignment details later on. What I want to just do now is just teach you how to get started. So this is a nice even base. It's about 1/4 of an inch wide. And I think you worked a little bit with coils, right? A little bit? Okay. So what you're going to do is cut out these, oh, there's a huge air pocket. So if there's an air pocket that you discover, you're not going to use that clay. And you're going to start just by squeezing and turning it. You can see it, good, okay. And once it gets long, then you're going to use your fingers closed. If they're open, it's going to create a lot of divots. So you want your hands closed, and you want to touch and roll the clay from palm to fingertip. So what we're doing is we're making this coil about the same width, actually a little bit wider than our slab base, okay? So this will be about 1 inch thick. If you make it too thin, you're not going to have a lot of material to work with. So this is about a good 1/4 inch or a little more. It's between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. The next thing you need to do, I have water here, is you need to make slip. I think Ruth referred to it as slick. I saw in some people's notes. I call it slip, S-L-I-P. It's just really wet clay. It acts as a glue. It helps you stick one piece of dry clay onto another. See how the end here is kind of folded? Well, that's probably trapping air. So you'll want to just cut that off. And then you're going to start by pinching your coil down on top of your base. You don't want it hanging off, and you don't want to rush it. What you want to do here is pick up your circle and turn it. Because if you start doing this to your coil, it's really thin, it'll probably end up breaking. So the coil you want to leave in place, you want to pinch and turn the base. So you're pinching this down into place. For this very beginning portion, you want to attach it and create a little ramp here, smooth it together, turn the base, and when you get to the next section, you need to do what? Make more slip, right? Yeah, so your slip is your glue. You don't want the piece drowning in water, but you do need enough of a glue or adhesive between the layers. It's like mortar between bricks. You need something that will bind them together. And you need to touch each and every inch of that coil and secure it to the one underneath. So with the ends, I do want you to cut them off and attach them well together. Make yourself a little ramp. When you run out, you clear your space. You want to make sure that your table is really clean for this. If there's a lot of dry clay bits, it'll end up sticking. And you don't really want dry clay embedded in soft clay. And then you just continue. So we're rolling out that coil, moving our hands, keeping our fingers together until it's a nice, uniform, even piece of clay. You want to chop off the ends, or you can just recycle those. And what do?
Slip.
That's right, make more slip. Okay. So it doesn't have to be this wide. Yours can be, you want it to be at least as wide as your palm, your hand, okay? So about 4 to 5 inches. The more narrow it is, the quicker you'll be able to build. So I just want you to get a feel for this technique, because once we select a culture that we want to research and reproduce a vessel in that style, then we're going to work a little bit large scale. So these are really small kind of models or maquettes. And then we're going to learn about sprig molds, which are reliefs. And we're going to make our very own. And we'll be able to reproduce a textural surface that we can add to our pots. So here you want to attach it. And your goal here, your assignment for next week to be completed, is to make a 6-inch pot, okay? So if you make it narrow, you'll get there a lot quicker. This one's rather wide. So move that out of the way. Now, with your box, I don't want you to construct it. I just want you to have those pieces dry, like leather hard. So they shouldn't be so soft and flexible. They should be stiff. They should hold that rigid kind of flat shape. So if they're on a board and they're drying flat, they'll be flat. But if you have the edges curled up, that's no good for you. It'll be a warped box, okay? So you want those to be beveled and ready for next time. I'll demonstrate how to attach it, and your homework today will be to do this and also to draw in your book. So when you get here, it's really important that you squish the air out between the 2 layers and then continue pinching down. If you're someone who rushes it and does this, your pot will just break and fall apart in the drying process, okay? So you want to take your time, pinch each section down. There are Japanese potters that make these enormous pots that can be 6 feet tall, used for storing and fermenting foods. Usually they bury them underneath the dirt, and they ferment the foods at like 55 degrees under the earth's surface. And they're massive. They're bigger than a human. Okay, so I'm not just pinching this way, I'm kind of pushing it down. So that's as far as I'll go, and then I'll let you work. But what I want you to do when you get to your 6-inch height, actually you might want to do it before it gets that tall. Whenever your tool is dirty, you need to clean it of all the dry clay. Is now I need you to combine either the inside or the outside. So if you want to leave coils visible on the outside, that's okay. So let's say in this case I just want to smooth the outer surface, so I am combining these coils together. So you need to support it because the clay is so soft that if you do this without it, you're just going to kind of collapse and deform your pot. Is it recording? Oh gosh. So what we're doing is we're combining the coils by using the round edge of that rib tool. This is a metal rib. It's shaped like a rib cage. That's how you remember what these tools are. Okay. And you want to, this is basically removing a little bit of material, so it's important that it's at least a 1/4 inch. If it's less than that, you're going to end up with something that's like 1/8 of an inch, which is really thin, very fragile. It's doable, but it's not ideal for a beginner. Okay. And you're making it tall and uniform. You don't want something going out. So the way you control that is when you're pinching, this hand acts as a wall, and you kind of do this to the form. If you start doing this, it's going to get wide, it's going to flange out. So you want to control the way that you're stacking your coils, okay? So this will be kind of an experiment where you get to learn the technique. And then when it comes time to make your larger prehistoric reproduction, then I'm going to show you different techniques for how to go in, how to go out. The clay has to be leather hard when you're working larger in order for you to build the form any taller, or else it starts to collapse under its own weight. Okay? So I'll make that slide lecture available on Blackboard for those of you who are out or just want it as a reference. It's really helpful to have. And then I'll give you more details about that assignment later on, okay? But for now, what I want you to do is make this, and I wrote the assignment on the board as assignment number 3. What you're going to do is sketch in your notebook a story that's unfolding on 4 sides of a box. You're not to construct the box at all, okay? Just start to think about your story and what you want to sort of convey. So you can use symbols. It doesn't have to be completely representative or very realistic. You can use symbols that kind of represent something, but be prepared to talk about it. We're kind of working and contextualizing our work. So, our job here is to learn certain skills, but also to learn creatively and to start to give meaning to our work. So I don't want to see flowers. I want it to be meaningful to you, to help us understand a little bit about who you are, or maybe some of the things that you're interested in. Okay, so think of a way to depict in images a story unfolding on 4 sides of a box. Does that make sense? And then I'll show you how to make stencils and how to apply them. It's really similar to using the leaf as a resist, except we're going to use cutout paper as a resist. I'll have to see if we have scissors here. Hopefully we do. Okay, so I want you to finish those your slab box pieces, put them there to dry to get stiff, and monitor them. Check them every 10 minutes or so, make sure they're not getting too dry, but you do want them to lose their plasticity, okay, that flexibility. You want it to be stiff, like a board of wood. Alright, and it's actually easier to cut and bevel the edges when it's stiffer. So once you have your squares, you can put it there and get this started. So when